the master plan as envisaged within its lifespan. So I submit.
Thank you so much. I would also like to pass the mic to Professor Paul Muki Nzoki. Prof. Nzoki, drawing on your research in regional economics, how can lessons from past EAC integrations, such as trade protocols, inform risk management strategies to prevent regulatory fragmentation in digital payment systems?
Thank you, moderator, for the question. As universities, and I'm happy that I'm seated with the bankers within the region, and quite experienced bankers in the region, and therefore, from the academic point of view, academicians, when we are involved in these matters based on research, we give facts that can inform the decisions that we are supposed to be having. We know very well that the Common Market Protocol calls for us to have free movement of services, again, free movement of capital, and that is a movement that the bankers have talked about, the ones in my panel. And therefore, we have, as you have asked, moderator, integration initiatives that we have had over the years, and these integration initiatives have come with some risks, and risks that we have learned or we are using to learn and to better the next level of integration. Now, the first lesson that we learned from research from universities is that in the implementation of the protocols that we have already signed in East Africa, under the Common Market Protocol, we have in the movement of money, the payments that we are talking about, the digital payments, an equal implementation of our policies. Research shows us very well that 70% of all
Somali's digital innovations, like it is 80% mobile money adoption to create scalable, sustainable payment systems across the EAC.
Yeah, thank you, moderator. We already have the political will. The fact that our heads of states have already signed protocols and the protocols are already in place, then we are in safe hands. As now it's to pick up from what they have done and try to implement, and we move from paper to implementation, as we said yesterday. So what we need to do is come up with so as education sector, therefore, we are ready to walk the journey with the financial sector. But and a few of limitations that we are seeing up to date. We are talking about, in higher education, student mobility within the region. And student mobility within the region is calling for us to have students move from one country to another. Now, when a student moves from Somalia to Kenya, for example, a university in Kenya will require them to produce, I'm just giving an example, some documents to prove payment has actually been done, the banks, so that now this student can be admitted. How can we therefore seamlessly kind of connect the university systems with the banking system so that at real time we can easily confirm and not require the hard copies? Universities, as I said, we generate empirical literature that gives evidence for the decision making. And therefore, rather than having regulations on paper, I know the banking sector is very fast when it comes to reacting to what the customers require. But what about the other sectors of the government, including the universities where we are coming from? Then the last part that I would like to talk to on this is the issue of research and development. In Kenya, the government funds research and development to the level of 0.8%. And this becomes the highest level of funding within the region. So what are we doing as governments to make sure that we fund research that will inform also what government is supposed to do to facilitate these digital payments that we are talking about? Then the establishment of the East African payment protocol, or even a task force to guide us on what to do and harmonize. Then lastly, can we be in a position to publish on regular basis the EAC Digital Risk Index within our states? I've just checked before I came here. I could not even find some data from some of our member states on the risks that we are facing real time on issues to do with payments. But the banking sector has that. From the government side, we are lagging behind. So that's my proposal.
Okay, thank you so much. And now we go to Mr. Miyutami. Miyutami, how can EAC initiatives like ERDIP foster multi-sector alliance to ensure long-term sustainability and financial inclusion across urban and rural EAC communities?
I think I will first focus on saying that by Somalia, build Somalia, by East Africa, build East Africa. I think from that slogan, we need to recognize that we are spending a lot of resources to come up with systems. For example, in the project that I am with, we are focusing on 3 or 4 development objectives. We are focusing on market connectivity. We are focusing on data market development. which is, has two mainstreams, data security and cyber security, and we are also focusing on online market development. So what I'm trying to say is that we are spending a lot of resources to come up with systems. For example, we have the East African payment system, which we can use or utilize to send money within East Africa without using correspondent banking. So I won't be encouraging ourselves to take note of that. We need to do a lot of publicity within our market, within East Africa, so that we can market the systems that we have, whether Dash Bill, we focus them, whether EAPS, we try to enlighten people or East Africans on their existence, so that at the end of the day, we can enhance sustainability of those particular systems. And finally, I would encourage us as much as possible. We do a lot of collaboration, because without moving with the various stakeholders in this particular payment system segment, then we may not go far.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Miyutami. I think we have reached to the round robin prompt to all panelists. We start maybe from Prof. Jamale and then followed by the other team members. In one key next step, what should the EAC prioritize? Whether a pilot project, for example, policy framework, or a task force to build a unified digital payment ecosystem by 2030. I request each panelist to cover this maximum 1 minute each. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ali. What I have to say is that the payment system is already reshaping in East Africa, not only East Africa but also the world, and the systems are already working. The governments should focus on policy and regulations and standards as the next level for a better and useful integration. Thank you.
Thank you, moderator. 2 things or 3 for call for action. Number 1, universities in East Africa, we are moving to competency-based education, and therefore we are calling for serious linkage in training with universities, with also the industry. So the banking and financial sector team, we need to collaborate with you as universities in that. Secondly, the issue of communication. We know very well that in some areas within East Africa, we don't have network, and we are talking of financial inclusion. So how can we move to make sure that the infrastructural development is done to support that? And lastly, we need to come up with an ESC digital payment harmonization task force, if possible, that will now assist the East African community to harmonize the payment systems. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, from the banks and the telcos, I think we are quite ahead when it comes to this, from policy levels and from also educational and institutions. In this regard, the banks are already doing this in a real time and processing payments between members of the EAC community. But here the target is to enable direct people to people or merchants to merchants, and direct payments instances between the, in example, a visitor from Tanzania would be able to use his own wallet in the coasts of Somalia or anywhere where he doesn't require any other payment method other than his own wallet. So here the acceptance is in place. The only missing element that the government would be working on will be the regulation part the currency conversion, and maybe the research from the university's perspective. So in totality, banks are already in operation, but we will still need to have a data-driven, research-driven initiatives to enable those payments to the rural areas or to enlarge the ecosystem. So I think the gap is quite close here, and maybe in advance we could do in collaboration with the regional authority to have an integrated system between the banks or within the countries, and then an integrated system within the region.
Thank you.
I think my recommendation would be, as a region, we should fast track the implementation of the national instant payment systems, or rather what we call faster payment systems. Other terminologies that are used are national switches, so that each of the EAC partner states has its own national switch, and this will be able to clear us to link the entire EAC retail payment system with one linkage. We can either use the IPS typology or we can use another, as long as we have been able to implement those national switches or national faster payments arrangements.
Thank you so much. I think now we would like to open the question to the floor. Just two questions, one man and one woman. We start with the woman, if there is anybody to ask. Ladies first. Okay, so we switch to that gentleman. Please assist him to get the mic.
Delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The question remains, what has held the region back from achieving the same level of digital transformation and adoption seen in parts of Europe and Asia, where blockchain and digital payments have revolutionized economics? So, the building of digital payments and ecosystem of East African community, at the EACCON, there is a clear vision to ensure that the East African region benefits from digital money, especially blockchain-based currencies like Bitcoin, which are becoming increasingly viral for digital growth and financial conclusion. Now is the time for East African community to embrace innovation, strong digital infrastructure, and unlock the opportunities that come with a blockchain-powered future. Our banks have also played an
Sorry to cut you short. I would request to just directly go to the question, if you don't mind.
Okay, thank you.
You just ask the questions that you would like to ask? Or it's just comment, okay.
And our banks have also played an important role in making things easier for young people. The efforts of Premier Bank and Salam Bank for their strong support and contribution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Now we... Yeah, that's the end, and now we have reached to the conclusion part of it. So let me summarize the recommendations of this panel. With regards to the interoperability theme, the experts have recommended that the technical part is easier, and we do have local RTGS available in Somalia. There is B2B transaction in place, and countries need to unify regulations and policies. Unified currencies are needed, and where money can move from one bank to another in the region. With regards to the regulations theme, the central banks, together with their markets, will launch EAC cross-border payment systems on May next year, and we have to take advantage of the support provided by the development partners, including GIC, World Bank, etc. And there is free movements of capital, and risks include 70% commitments fully implemented. We need to learn from each other, and there must be EAC integration strategy to prevent fragmented policies. With regards to the cybersecurity, there must be a common cybersecurity framework, as the system is already working and the data protection is already in place. With regards to the partnership for scale and sustainability, integration of payment systems with universities is recommended, and research, as well as research and development funding to inform digital payment channels and solutions. And there is also a need to focus on data, as it is very important, and students' mobility as well. And all the experts recommended that governments should focus on policy regulations and standards, and the EAC universities should have a competence-based education, while EAC banks also should collaborate with universities. Current convention is necessary. And finally, we should fast-track national instant payment systems so that each EAC partner state has its own national switch. I thank you very much, and that's the end of this session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ali, for the excellent moderation of this interesting panel together with your panelists. Please give them a big round of applause. The media team, please kindly take a photo of this panel, and then we'll move to the next session. Media team. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is EACCON 2025, and today we are here in the final day of this wonderful conference discussing such important topics such as unifying digital payments in the East African communities, among many other topics. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the Deputy Secretary General of the East African Community. Thank you so much for taking your time to be here with us today. Honorable Andrea Arik Maluet, thank you so much, as well as other representatives, including those from the Ministry of Finance and other institutions. We will finish this wonderful conference before we break for lunch. The reason being that we want to give you an ample time so that you can make meaningful connections, you can have time to discuss more with your colleagues, you can have times to exchange contacts and express your views together with the media team that are eager to ask questions to the participants of this conference. So without further ado, I would like to welcome to the stage the next and the final panel discussion of this wonderful Conference of the East African Community. This panel will focus, as mentioned earlier, on public-private partnerships for regional industrialization and productive sector growth. I would like to welcome to the stage the moderator of this wonderful panel discussion, Ms. Ayan Ali Aden from the Ministry of Finance, as well as panelist Yacinta Kiruthi, who is the CEO, Trade Africa Tax and Customs Boutique, panelist Bahja Shuriya, who is the director of CIMAD iLab, panelist Sadiq Mohammed, who is from the National Trade Facilitation Committee. He's the coordinator of that committee, and finally Luemba Musa Maswanku, who is a researcher in political science, development and economics, and he's the head of the Department of Political Science of IUICU University. Please give them a big round of applause. Yes, I'll give Ayan to lead from here. Ayan, welcome.
Thank you very much, the moderator. We will start our discussions for the panel for I would like to call Professor Isa Mohammed Halane, who will be replaced to Mr. Ado. If you could hear us, Professor, could you just come to the panel team? And thank you for the short notice that you accepted to be at this panel. Today, good afternoon, distinguished guests, colleagues, and delegates. I'm honored to moderate these important discussions in public-private partnership for regional industrializations and productive sector growth. Across East Africa, industrial transformation is a central of economic integration and job creation. For Somalia and its neighbors, BBB represents a bridge between a public ambition and private capability, unlocking infrastructure across processing, logistics, technology growth. Today, our panel brings together experts that will share a perspective how enabling policies, innovation of financing, institutional capacity can BBB drive to inclusive development. Let me introduce, since we don't have much time, we will go to the direct for the guiding questions. This discussion teams has, each of the panelists has 3 minutes to summarize their recommendations. And yeah, thank you. We'll focus on 5 areas, which is the policy and regulatory frameworks, regional and best practices, and financing, strengthening and investment mobilizations, Somali integration and regional value chains, institutional capacity building on public sector resources. These are the 5 themes that we will focus on. Next. Expected outcome for this theme will be identify the policy sections, strengthen Somali BBB framework, draw a regional lessons that can be adapted from Somali contexts, encouraging investment in partnership for industrial and infrastructure projects, reinforce Somalia positions can active contributed in East Africa and economic integrations. This themes and the discussion today we will have will give a platform to turn an ideas into the actions pathways, linking to the policy, finance, partnership, and for more connected, competitive, and prospective regions. I will start with our panelist, Musa. Lowimba Musa, who's the researcher and head of political science department in IUCU University. In terms to the policy and regularity, what specific legal policies, institutional reforms are required to create enable environment for effective BBB implementations, Somalia and broader East Africa regions?
Thank you very much, moderator. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ruemba Musa. I come in here to discuss the role of the government in creating an enabling environment in terms of policies that can harmonize the PPP relationship. I begin by appreciating that government is a host institution to the private sector, and with that it must create a conducive environment that must actually enable the market. There is what we call corporatism in political economy, where the government agrees with the private sector on what should be the conducive environment. We all appreciate that the market is going to come in with resources, but then these resources must be used in the best way to support, first of all, its profit maximization objective, but then second of all, to support the service delivery objective of the government. Now, one, in this enabling environment, one is the government must create regulatory frameworks that must actually support the existence of the market within the country. And in this, it will create an environment of fair competition, an environment of fair taxation policies, an environment of fair legal conditions, so that in case the market has any issues whatsoever as far as the economy is concerned, it can there and then work it out with the government. Then two, we also see certain governments creating financial incentives to enable the market to work well within the economy. The market sometimes needs access to certain conducive environments, like factors of production, things like land, things like coordination of labor within the economy, within the country, and so on and so forth. So if the government is in position to create such an environment, then the PPP is going to be quite effective. We also appreciate the government giving tax holidays to the private sector, so that at the end of the day, the early years of their existence within the economy can actually support them in their objective of maximization of profits, but without compromising the overall objective of providing services to the government. Then governments must also create policies that initiate infrastructures within the country, things like road networks and the rest, because these are facilitating factors to the as enablers to the private sector. Then in terms of promoting policies that regard to market access, the government must make sure that whenever there is production within the economy arising out of this relationship, the private sector has access to the market, so that at the end of the day, it can achieve its objective. There are many instances where we find in our economies, the private sector has challenges related to production, but also at the end of the day related to consumption from the consumers. Now, in this relationship, the government must connect between the production, the distribution, and the consumption through the frameworks that it has at hand. And with this, then we can see the long-term sustainable and dependable development within our economies. So the government becomes an enabling institution to provide this visiting institution through the partnerships with a conducive environment that can actually enable it to serve the economy without compromising the objective for which it gets into the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Moses. That is really good recommendations. And since we know the BBB presents a bridge between public ambitions and private sector capability and unlocking infrastructure and agro-processing logistics and technical-led growth. Thank you for your recommendations. Now I want to move to Professor Ise Halane. We need to, since you have a good presentation, I need to give you a 5 minutes for your presentation snapshot. Also, I want to focus on one question, telling that how can across a broader BBB strengthen industrial linking between Somalia and neighboring economies? How a cross-border BBB strengthens industrial linkage between Somalia and the neighbors or East Africa community? Welcome.
بسم الله وصلى على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. I've been thinking together my presentation. It's going to be a dry answer, inshallah. In how can the PPP could develop the basis for the agricultural, I think that was the question, agricultural development in Somalia. Literally, we did have before the National Transformation Plan a plan that we just actually set it for the businesses, the private sector to develop, and that was exactly what the government did take. And the reason why we did take was that because it's something that in Somalia was doing that in generations by themselves. And when it comes to the government, right from the beginning in 1996 all the way now, we know that the agriculture in general, including livestock and fisheries, is the backbone of the revenue that have been exported. So what we think is that we need a model that we did develop that only could be developed in this agriculture in this broader sense, which means we are going to have the basic defining the sector that we need to develop, and in this case it's the productive sectors. And then what we need is to add up with the manufacturing that it needs to add a value for that products that we do produce. Once we do produce, then we need the skills in terms of human capital to be able to manage and develop that skills. That actually enriches the capacity and the capability to translate that to a competitiveness when it comes to the exports and the quality assurance for the products that we do export. Then we have as a package what I call the 4 elements of the development of investment, which is infrastructure, energy, funding or financing, and technology. And a lot of people here, they did talk about that, but the way we think this is that as a package which actually funnel or channel to the productive sectors. And what I mean by that is that when we mean the agriculture and farming system, we need to have the infrastructure of that specific area. Just to name, say for example, the Minister of Agriculture is also added the irrigation. So we need using the structural way to leveling, and then using what we have been listening to the AI, which in this case is the digital or the modernizations. When it comes to the cooling systems, logistics of the infrastructure, when we call about that, as well as something that we need to couple with that for that specific farming system that we have in order to develop the level that we need to export and have that experience. The same thing is for the livestock which actually needs the actual things, which is infrastructure that we need, a connectivity, we need legislations that have been enhancing the systems, the SPS, the sanitary, finance sanitary that we need to develop, and all of that coupled together with the digital things, using that, it will enable us to be a competitive export system. The fish is another sector that it comes under the productive sectors, and if you see all that three areas, the reason why we take in the first place before the National Transformation Plan was that because we know that if you see in the literature, we have a McKinsey consultants that have been already projected is going that direction, which is going to be the importance of the food security and food sovereignty. And in it says that the prediction that back then in the 2000, not back, in the future, in the 2000, at least 30 to 50, what is going to be very scarce is going to be the protein of animal origin, which we have in abundance, say in Somalia or the community as well. So if you project that, is a very important to come to the investment of talking about where there's going to be the public-private or where there's going to be other investment doing its feasibility studies. So what we see that sectors in that sense is that we see not only food security, but we see as well a food sovereignty. So coupling that reasons, it actually gives a reason why the National Transformation Plan that now is going to be based 2025 to 2029 to be the productive sectors. That is the reason why we think to do that. And the way for the PP is that we should have to cover that four elements of development or investment, and then giving the whatever it needs to be to develop, whether it's going to be human capital or industrialization in that sectors. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Professor, for giving a snapshot of your presentations. I encourage our panelists to build each other's points and highlight practical recommendations for policymakers and investors in the audience. I will move to now to SADC for regional best practices and BBB models. What would successful BBB models from East Africa member states offer valuable lessons for Somalia, particularly sector infrastructure, agro-processing, and manufacturing?
Good morning. Thank you very much. Good day to all the participants. I think as a new member for the EAC bloc, and as well as Somalia acceding to the multilateral blocks of the global trading system, the topic of B, public-private partnership, has increasingly become an important topic for discussion for a while. I'm happy to be part of this panel today. The BBP, which I think for Somalia, with considering the situation of our nation today, is somewhat a model of adaptable and inclusive public-private partnership. That model, which is recently more successful on some EAC countries, including Rwanda, Kenya, and Uganda. If I may say, the B, or public-private partnership, on that model requires some things to be considered in order to be a successful one for the nation. It should focus on the much needed priority sectors for the nation. For us in Somalia, public-private partnership should focus on the much needed areas, including the ports, which we use the export or importation activities. Also, one with focuses on the fishing jetties when it comes to fishery sector. We also think that renewable energy, which hugely needed in terms of capacity and enriching our economic growth status. There are a lot of things I cannot left behind the agro business, which mostly talking about today, which we need to create an environment that is viable and can be enriched to grow our nation, to create more industries in terms of agriculture and other sectors which are crucial for our nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sadak. That's really amazing recommendations and the points that you mentioned. As we know, Somalia now newly joined to East Africa community, and the BBB, in terms of privatization, Somalia's private sectors are the most private sectors who involved in the business, but in terms of government and the private sector together to do any projects, this is new to Somalia at all. But since the policies are there, and now the government is planning to have BBB projects for the upcoming years, it will be a good benefit in terms of agro-processing, infrastructure, and the new technology. I will go now to Jacinta Kirutu. In terms of the financing strategy and investment mobilizations, are there regional financing models Somalia can join or replicate? Since we are new to the East Africa and we are like a newborn, we need to have an experience how East Africa do BBB or finance instruments. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I think this is working. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. All right.
Are we together?
Yes, I think we are. Thank you, Madam Moderator, for your question regarding financing. Now, I think there's a lot that we can learn from our neighbors, the 7 neighbors, in as far as raising capital within the countries concerned. Now, currently, I'm made to understand that the Revenue Authority is a work in progress. Okay? So the model that exists currently within the East African community is that revenue within a country is collected by the Revenue Authorities. So you either collect it domestically or from customs. So if Somalia is going to choose to go that way, then it has to have a very robust revenue authority to do the domestic mobilization of revenue, so that that revenue would be now used to drive development. If that is the model that it will take, then obviously there are many countries within the region that you can borrow from. What I would caution is getting into debt, okay, in order to finance development, because a lot of countries are now weighed by debt, all right, because they had to borrow and pay back, okay? So Somalia is in a very advantageous position because it can choose a model that works for it, meaning that you do not overborrow or overcommit and then end up with a very huge public debt. So yes, there is the need to get into the PPPs, but ask yourself, as you've correctly asked, what is the most optimal financing model? I know Somalia also does not follow your conventional banking system. So again, you have a very open field to curate a solution that works for your religion, first and foremost, and also work for the bigger development agenda. I do not know what that looks like at the moment, but I think it is something that should be very interesting to look at, because the Muslim system of financing does not believe in interest, isn't it? Yes, it doesn't believe in interest. Yet our banking systems leverage interest in order to make a profit. So it's a very interesting space to be in, because then I don't know where you're getting your money from and who will give you money without interest. So if you're going to get money from the domestic space, then are you going to use that? Is the government going to use that money to develop? Okay, so that is the question that needs to be answered. Now, what is government giving the people of Somalia? Infrastructure, meaning roads, rails, sewer, very important, sewer systems, okay? Trade facilitation corridors. What we are trying to move towards are borderless. Sorry, this is not... So what we're trying to move towards are borderless countries. We're also looking for seaports, we're looking for airports. What is the private sector going to give you? Innovation, capital, technology, labor, and factors of production. Now, when the good advisor to the president, the economic advisor, mentioned that agriculture will not propel us into development, it is making things that will propel us into development. And we had this conversation last year, because I asked the audience, what is it that you have made with your hands? A lot of the things within this room have been imported. Now, I always tell people, let's go to the basics. And the basics are what? What you find in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. What is Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Safety and the basics. Food, water, shelter. So in this category, is it possible that as the 8 countries of the East African community, we choose and tell ourselves, for example, Kenya can produce tea, coffee, the beverages, all right, at more or less a comparative advantage, meaning we're able to do it efficiently. Is it possible that Somalia provides, for example, the banking infrastructure, the transfer of money, because they're very efficient on that? Now, if we say Tanzania, which has come, or maybe Rwanda has come up very fast in manufacturing, say for example, the steel that we use, is it possible that we would buy the steel from them, and or whatever it is that they make, we buy from them? So we have 8 countries producing 8 very basic things that the population of 330 million need. And we have a market where we sustain ourselves with the things that we are making for ourselves, the clothes that we wear. If we decide Tanzania can produce sufficient cotton for us to use and manufacture our own fabric, why don't we do that? If Uganda can give us sufficient food, for example, why do we have to import the food? If we find that in Kenya we can do the value addition for this particular agricultural product, why don't we do that? So my question, or rather my answer would be, make sure that everything that we consume at a very basic level is produced within the 8 African countries. Anything that we need over and above that can come from outside. Within the AFCFTA, I'm still biased towards Africa. And then anything over and above that, then we can get it from outside. But if we can source the fundamentals from our neighbors, I think we will have reduced our import burden, and we will not need to borrow from external sources. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jacinta. That's really, really amazing recommendations. Let us have our own resources instead going abroad. East African communities has a broader manufacturing insight to the country. That's really amazing. Thank you very much. Let's move to the final, not final, but the list to Bahja for institutional capacity for public sector reforms. What is the role can academic and the regional corporation play in a capacity building? We need to know how can academic take a role. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ayan. Good afternoon, everyone. I can see from here the audience are very tired and it's
Give
very
us
advanced
attention, we
time.
are almost completing.
But I will make it very quick and very sharp. Public-private partnerships, I believe we need in Somalia, like we hardly need the public-private partnership in terms of capacity building, because Somalia's education sector has been underdeveloped for the last 3 decades, and that brings me to the discussion of having regional cooperation in terms of capacity building. Our universities and research centers are needed to develop public-private partnership infrastructure and programs and management programs to train the next generation of professionals. In this, we can learn a lot from the expertise who are all over the world, especially in the regional collaboration. So by linking the government and the academic joining together, as we know, the government has a limited resource, and the education sector, they have also limited resource. If we combine all these things and unite it, it will, you know, train a lot of youth in terms of hard skills and soft skills. And as we all aware of in Somalia, the most sectors that we need in terms of the hard skills is the hospitality and all these things. So we can build something through public-private partnerships to, you know, advance these sectors. So I would say building public-private partnerships in terms of capacity building is a sustainable pipeline for our local talents. So I will summarize that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bahja, for your summarizations of how the role of academic can be part of BBB. waxaan ka codsanaynaa dhammaan audience-ga meeshaan ku jira waa dhameerabnaa su-aasha ugu dambeysa reflection-kan ku jirnaa hal mar aan is dhegaysanna xoogaa buuqi waa batay waxaa idinka codsanaynaa inaa cod ka yaraysaan aada u mahadsantiin. Our last question for reflection for the all panels, I want for you to summarize everyone. Take 1 minute or 1 point that you think how can effective public-private partnership accelerate in the realization, strength, productivity sector across Somalia and East Africa community. 1 point for each panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, moderator. In 1 minute, one, I would suggest cooperativism, which initially I referred to as that relationship between the government, labor, and the market working together to agree. Then two, I would suggest that we also benchmark from other successful countries. East Asian countries like Malaysia and others have been cited for successful PPPs. And then finally, we should identify niche areas, like one of the presenters noted, that these niche areas give us a comparative advantage that amidst our meager resources, we are going to yield a lot from them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will say 3 simple things. Strong BB in terms from government side, I think a strong BBB unit is much required to govern that procedure. Also, secondly, we need transparent and communication that builds investor confidence. As we are aware, governments have, like Somalia, have investor protection laws, which fortunately Somalia has our parliament approved and currently in operational status. And finally, the public-private partnership project is successful sometimes related to if it's cross-border projects. Countries should coordinate accordingly, and also harmonization and alignment of procedures and procurements are much needed too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ayan, for the follow-up question. I would say to manage public-private partnership effectively, we need three things. Strong institutions, which we need to build our policies, and we also need skilled people. When we say skilled people, is both local talented and also officials to be trained for this, for the preparation of public-private partnerships. Thirdly, we also need a clear coordination in terms of line ministries. Thank you so much.
Okay, my focus is purely domestic. I always look within because I believe that we should curate our own solutions. I believe that if you have an effective revenue authority collecting enough resources from within, you will never need to borrow. We did it once in Kenya, and it was very effective. For 10 years, I was part of the Revenue Administration and Reform Program, where we knew there was enough money within the country to develop the country. So keep the country out of debt as much as possible. Make what you need domestically. The basics. I always go back to the basics. Reduce your imports. You don't need to get food from outside the country. Consume what it is that you grow and only export that which is extra. Over and above that, you can get it from outside. But what is fundamental to you should belong to you. So make your clothes, manufacture your own, the basics, and above all, farm your own food and eat your own food. That is my solution.
That was a great statement, and thank you very much. But I would like to come from the word itself, public and private. And what I'm suggesting is that in order to get a very good working public-private partnership, we need to precede that a public-private dialogue. Had we done that properly, yes, on the paper we do, but in practical, if we do that very well, then it transcends from that to set together the policies, the procedures, the protocols, and the laws to do that. And to hold that very good, we need a transparency to be done that way. So once we do things together, we can walk with the walk, and then we can do the do's, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you very much for all the panelists. Let me give to the floor for only one question. No more, because we don't have time. Only one. And please summarize your questions since the time is not with us.
I wanted to ask you the first question. First, I am happy to see my professor at the Somali National University. Okay, my question to the panelists: how can the economies of public and private commercial entities, especially those in the manufacturing sector, be connected? And what are the ways to connect them? Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. I think your question is how to interconnect the industry and the commerce. Is that right? If I didn't understand that way, when I've been talking early on and in my presentations, well done that. And the main thing that we did take as a module was that when I've been standing here, we just based that on the productive sectors. But if you take that manufacturing in the commerce, take the basics of the industry, and then set up the supportive sectors that it needs, and then the four main elements that I've been talking about: infrastructure, energy, finance, and technology. That is the way forward for any industry, for any sector to be developed. Had that model been redefined into more details, you could use that model to any industry that you want to develop. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for our panelists and the audience. Let me take you some 3 takeaways from this panel. One is BBB thrives on policy, clarity, and trust. 2, innovation, finance, and integrations are essential. 3, capacity building will define that BBB success. Let us ensure BBB drive inclusive and sustainable growth. Thank you very much.
Media team, please, as usual, please take a picture of the panel. It's unbelievable we are coming to the end of this wonderful conference that we have been convening since yesterday, having important discussions, including the one that was just had by the panelists. I would like now to welcome to the stage to deliver the official communique for the East African Conference 2025, Mr. Mohamed Okash. Please give him a big round of applause. Okash, I'll limit you to the time to only just 2 minutes, please, if it's possible.
Bismillah. Bismillah. EACCON 2025 communique. The preamble. The East Africa Community Conference, EACCON 2025, was convened in Mogadishu, Somalia from 7th to 8th October 2025 under the theme of Advancing Productive Sector Cooperation for Socio-Economic Transformation in East Africa Community. The conference brought together over 450 delegates representing partner states, government ministries, universities, research institutions, the private sector, civil society, and development partners. The EACCON 2025 took place at a historic moment for Somalia's integration journey to East Africa Community, following the adoption of Somalia and East Africa Integration Roadmap in June 2024 in Nairobi, Kenya. The milestones reflect Somalia's commitment to becoming an active and fully integrated member state in the community and to contribute a shared regional vision of peace, prosperity, and collective transformation. The conference applauds the federal government of Somalia for its strategic decision to join the community and its progressive engagement with the regional process and the launch of the National Transformation Plan NTB 2025-2029 as a national framework for sustainable development and integration into the Continental Vision 2060, which aligns the EAC Vision 2050 and the African Union Agenda 2063, and as well as 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The conference acknowledged the remarks of Honorable Andrea Arik, the Deputy Secretary General of East Africa Community, who praised Somalia's leadership and active participation in the community, mentioning also Somalia is the rapporteur in the community and expecting a further leadership roles in the coming years. The conference recognizes the vision articulated by His Excellency the President of the Federal Republic of Somalia, His Excellency Dr. Hassan Sheikh Mohamud. On his opening remarks, that he highlighted that Somalia's joining the East Africa Community presents a market of over 300 million people, forming a strategic powerhouse linking to Great Lakes into Indian Ocean. Number 2, the main outcomes of the conference. The conference marked a series of historic strategic outcomes, including, number 1, the launch of East Africa Artificial Intelligence Alliance in Somalia, officiated by the President of Somalia, His Excellency Dr. Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, and Continental Fast aimed to accelerate ethical, inclusive, and local-led AI development in productive sectors. Number 2, the introduction of East Africa Professional Diploma course during the Education Roundtable, jointly designed and delivered by Somali National University, Simad University, and University of Beirut, which symbolized a deepening of academic collaboration and harmonization within the region. Number 3, the acceleration of investment and modernization in Somalia's agricultural sector, positioning as a main engine of growth, transformation, resilience against food insecurity and climate shocks. Number 4, the prioritization of investment in blue economy sector, recognizing it as a key comparative advantage for Somalia's regional trade, value chain development, and sustainable economic growth. Number 5, commitment to adopting East Africa standard in education, focusing on quality assurance, harmonization, and accreditation to improve education system and strengthen the mobility of students and professionals. Number 6, commitment to expand our multilingual capacity, including and introducing Kiswahili in schools and university curriculum to deepen people-to-people integration. Number 7, the conference calls for Somalia's private sector to upgrade and align their standards to regional competitiveness in order to leverage opportunities in trade, service, and investment within EAC market. Number 8, the recognition of digitization and digital payment and fintech as a critical tools for inclusive wealth creation and financial inclusion, especially for youth, women, and cross-border traders. The last one, which is number 9, appreciation of the role of CIMED AI Institute, UNESCO Africa Campus, and GIZ in building the AI leadership capacities across Somalia higher education institutions, notably through their joint training program during the EACCON 2025. Number 3, appreciation. The entire EACCON 2025 extends their sincere appreciation to all its sponsors, partners, and organizers which made possible that the conference takes place in Mogadishu for its second edition. Special gratitude is expressed to the government of Somalia for the hospitality and the leadership of the conference, and also GIZ for their commitment in advancing Somalia's active participation in East Africa community integration. Adopted in Mogadishu, Somalia on the 8th day of October 2025. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mohamed Okash, for the excellent communique. Hopefully, those will be turned into actions and we will be able to see tangible results in the near future. Ladies and gentlemen, over the past 2 days, our discussions have been filled with a sense of urgency and optimism, from unlocking opportunities in trade and agriculture to advancing regional integration through innovation, partnerships, and shared knowledge. The message has been clear: East Africa is moving forward together, and Somalia, as its newest member state, is ready to be part of that journey. We're ready for business, ready to collaborate, and ready to contribute to the region's growth story. And as we continue building bridges between the public and private sectors, we look to the East African community for leadership that unites our efforts, strengthens our partnerships, and ensures that no member is left behind. It is therefore my great honor to invite the Honorable Deputy Secretary General of the East African Community, Mr. Andrea Arik Malueit, a leader whose work continues to drive transformation across infrastructure, productive sectors, and regional cooperation, to share his final remarks and closing remarks for the East African Conference 2025. A big round of applause to the Deputy Secretary General of the East African Community.
Thank you, our Director of Ceremonies, Excellency, the Minister of Public Works, who is present with us here, all the government officials from Federal Republic of Somalia, our partners, the EAC partners, all the delegates who are attending this conference. Abjambo, Abarzenu, Salam Alaikum. I would like first of all to start by congratulating the government of Federal Republic of Somalia for a successful conference, EACCON 2025. Second is to thank all the delegates for all their time, energy, and their interest in participating in this conference for the last 2 days. I have seen all the young people available and participating, asking questions, and also networking. I have gone out for a few minutes and I got all of them were networking. This is an opportunity where you can get your business partner. So I would like to thank you for being available and being interested and participating in this conference. And to the organizers, congratulations to you for a job well done, people who organized this conference. To our development partners, thank you for being with us. Thank you for walking the journey of integration of East Africa community together, especially our main partner, GIZ, and other partners that are supporting us. Please feel appreciated. EAC see your contribution in integration agenda. Thank you so much. I would like to conclude with 2 messages. One message is to the Somalis. I am appealing to you to make use of opportunities available in the community. In East Africa community, the community belongs to you. You are full members of this community. Please trade anywhere in the community. Realize your dreams as East African citizens anywhere within the 8 countries. Please feel at home. Don't feel that you are new members. You are equal members of the community, just like the rest who were there. Finally, it's about this conference. The success of any conference is not only about the high attendance. It's not only about the resolution. It is about implementing those resolutions. So please, my call to you is, by the time you have the next EACCON, we would want to hear the success stories out of these resolutions. Walk the talk. With these remarks, Asanteni sana. I will end my speech here. Thank you so much.
Asante sana, Deputy Secretary. Now for the next closing remarks, I would like to welcome to the stage Dr. Abdikarim Muhyiddin, who was the former chairman of EACCON 2024, as well as the rector of Simad University, Somalia.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The official closing remarks will be done by the Minister, Dr. Ilmi, but I just want to invite him to the stage and say a little bit words of thanks to our participants in this conference. In fact, it was an inspiring 2 days whereby we had a lot of discussions about pressing issues that Somalia needs to give attention so that we make sure our integration to East Africa comes through a process and we benefit from that big market. We have discussions in relation to AI. We have talked about productive sector development. We talked about digital platforms and ways we can develop end-to-end transfer of money between East African countries. We talked about fostering the integration. So all these topics were inspiring and were pressing issues that we need to address. I would like to thank to our international partners, to our international participants who come all the way from their countries to here Mogadishu just to participate this conference, exchange ideas, and contribute Somalia's readiness to East Africa integration. I also like to thank the young men and women who have been organizing this conference. Those of you who are not familiar with the EACCON, we have started organizing this conference 6 months ago. So it's not easy to set up such kind of conference. So thank you very much. The young women and men who has been putting their efforts together to make sure that this is becomes a successful event. I also like to thank our sponsors, starting from Hormuz, Dahabshil, Sanjad, ministers from Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Education, Minister of Agriculture, and in particular to GIZ for their valuable support, their guidance, and their trust they put on us in making sure that we can handle this conference successfully. To the panelists, thank you very much. Your ideas, your discussions, your comments are going to be documented. We are not going to leave this stage unless we have produced policy previews, reports, and action maps that will actually make sure when we come back to EACCON 2026, we can report a positive impact of EACCON 2025. Allow me to welcome Minister Dr. Ilm to officially conclude our conference and give him a big round of applause.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much once again. I have been here. I wanted in the morning just to deliver my words and then go away, but I found how useful is the discussion is and how the importance of the conference is, and also I was given the assignment to make the closing word. So let me first congratulate the conference organizers, sponsors, partners, development partners, participants, and everybody who makes this conference to be successful. So thank you very much. This is a the second conference, and I think it is ending with a very, very important and takeaway conclusion is that makes us to work hard and make the next meeting more and more, that we have delivered what we have said here. With these words, if I shift it to the local, aad baan ugu mahad celinayaa dhammaan runtii intii ka soo qayb gashay oo dhan shirkan weyn runtii East African Community muxuu ahaa soo qabanqaabisay. Waxaan u mahad celinayaa intii soo qabanqaabisay ugu horeeyaan jaamacadda ummadda, jaamacadda Simad, jaamacadaha kale muxuu ahaa qaybta ka ah, aqoon-yahanka Soomaaliyeed, sponsorskii muxuu ahaayey shirkan muxuu ahaayey suurto geliyey, inta muxuu ahaa organizations ka soo qayb galay muxuu ahaa contribution ka geeyey, participantska iyo delegationska nooga yimiday muxuu ahaayey dibadda, all delegations who came from the neighboring countries, East African Community. So waan muxuu ahaa dhammaantood waan muxuu ahaayey u mahad celinaynaa, mahadnaq ballaaran. Shirkana waa shir guulaystay oo runtii muxuu ahaayey aan rajaynayno muxuu ahaayey gunaanadkii ka soo baxay iyo warmurtiyeedkii ka soo baxay inuu noqdo mid dhaqangal ah oo aynu muxuu ahaayey u qaadanno muddadan iyo inta u dhaxaysa muxuu ahaayey shirka dambe inay wax badani mugtay iska bedeleen. Waxaan filayaa muxuu ahaayey East Africa inay Soomaaliya ku biirtaay sida madaxweynaha Jamhuuriyadda Federaalka Soomaaliya Dr. Xasan Maxamuud uu sheegay. Wuxuu ahaa geedi socod dheer oo dhowr iyo 10 sano dambe oo dhan socday, laakiin alxamdulillah uu muxuu ahaayey ka midho dhaliyey madaxweynaha Jamhuuriyadda Federaalka Soomaaliya. Dadaal dheer iyo muxuu ahaayey runtii juhdi badan oo ku bixiyey ayaa keenay runtii muxuu ahaayey dowladaha aynu xubnaha ka noqonnay oo runtii muxuu ahaayey si wanaagsan ula falgalay inay soo dhaweeyay inay Soomaaliya ka mid noqoto ayaa maanta guushaasi midho dhalka sameeyay. Waa guul taariikhiya, xasuusan doonaan jiilalka soo socda, xasuusan doonaan inta muxuu ahaayey ku intifaacday, inta ka faa'iidaysatay community-ga ballaaran ee Soomaaliyeed ee Geeska Afrika iyo East Africa oo dhanba ku nool oo ka mid noqday community-ga ballaaran ee East Africa oo sidaan muxuu ahaayey markii hore sheegaynay isku xidhaya muxuu ahaayey Gulf of Aden ilaa muxuu ahaayey xeebaha muxuu ahaayey Atlantic-ga muxuu ahaayey isku xidhaya. Waa dhul weyne weyn, dhulka ugu barwaaqada badan, dhulka ugu resourceska badan, dhulka ugu deganaanshaha badan markaasoo muxuu ahaa haddaynu ka faa'iidaysano community-ga muxuu ahaayey ku nool mandiqadaasoo dhaniba ay noqonayso community muxuu aha barwaaqo iyo badhaadhe weyn gaadha dunidana muxuu aha ku biiriya horumar deganaansho iyo muxuu ahaa miisaan siyaasadeed oo xoog leh oo runtii aa muuqda marka waxay u tahay soomaaliya guul bay u tahay inaynu ka madhi dhalinaa waxay u baahan tahay inaynu muddo dheer baynu dunida ka hadhnay haddaynu Soomaali nahay inaynu gaadhno halka ummaduhu markaas ay gaadheen dib u dhiska dalkeenna muxuu ahaayey aqoonteenna ururinta bulshadeenna midnimadooda inaynu ka shaqayno aynu horumar hiigsano maalin walba waxaynu dhagax dhignaa wax weyn oo runtii muxuu ahaayey horumara oo runtii muxuu ahaayey barwaaqada inagu riixaya taas inaynu focus ka saarno oo shirarka noocan oo kale iyo muxuu ahaayey gunaanadkooga iyo waxa ka soo baxa iyo aragtiyada ka soo baxday ee banalistayaashii intii present gareeyey anigoo u mahad celinaya aragtidii muxuu ahaayey toolmoonayd ee runtii ay ku biiriyeen muxuu ahaayey muxuu ahaayey shirkan isaga ah marka in garaadka la kobciyo aqoonta la kobciyo waxgaradka la kobciyo sida muxuu ahaayey dhalinyaradeenna hadda muxuu halkan ku soo maray wax soo saarka ee creativity-ga leh ee curinta leh ee hal abuurka leh ee runtii muxuu ay ku mashquulsan yihiin in dhalinyaradeennu ku wada mashquulaan oo markaas ay dalkeena badbaadadiisa iyo horumarkiisa ay muxuu ka shaqeeyaan with this muxuu ahaayey words muxuu ahaayey the conference that were be conducted here in Mogadishu with that you see such a big gathering distinguished guests and all you see the delegations who came here with this came and participated this conference on behalf of the government of Somalia, on behalf of the president of the government of Somalia, Dr. Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud, on behalf of the government of Danqaran, leading by the Prime Minister Hamza Abdi Barre, I conclude on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which conducted this conference. I conclude the conference. I say the conference is closed. Asante sana, Gulesta, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi.
Asante sana, Wazir Dr. Ilmi. Some few instructions before we depart. The protocol team kindly provide the coupons for lunch. Also, there will be a photo group. I would like to request the delegates to come at the front and have a photo group. Also, I would like you to please follow the East African Conference official pages on social media so that you can continue being connected to our updates.